Good hockey morning, CSHL fans. This is Eric LeVigne, and I will be doing a draft review. Gosh, it feels like almost a month ago the draft was completed. We are now 1 week away. Less than 1 week away, because it would have started 8 hours ago, a week later from now. Okay, I'm working on time. I'm trying to do time on the fly. Less than a week away from the Fall 24 CSHL, Charlotte Street Hockey League, kicking off. Just want to do a quick draft review of what happened. Not going to go through every pick of the draft. We can do that more or less by going through each of the teams. But quick highlights of the draft. Great Riverbend Rapids draft. Just want to highlight them. This is their first proper draft, as their first season was inheriting the Fridge Raiders roster, which did not include Cale Bowman in winter 24 this past winter. Didn't go so well for them. Not Cookingham's fault. He had the draft, it seems, that he wanted going into fall 24, and good for him. Picked up a lot of really good players. Newcomer Cole Williams is eligible for the draft, and Mike Campbell took a chance on him. 4th overall. Very, very talented young kid, young man even, and we expect great things of him in this season and the seasons to come. And then overall, the number of rookies that are in A-League eligible for the Rookie of the Year award that we will start giving out. Especially the young Jacob Janigas and Cole Hesslins, but also the not-so-young John Lavellas, who I'm sure would love to hear that he is a candidate for being rookie of something. So very, very smart, talented player, John Lavella. MVP potential, the usual suspects. Waymer Wieners, picking Sam Wood, of course. Zach McKenna's already won one. Jack Ingles won an MVP, I believe, fall 21 and definitely fall 22. Just coming off of ACL surgery. Cole Williams, I'd definitely say, is in that candidate. Jeremy Hotchner is the reigning MVP, won it in winter 24. Cale Bowman, Tim Hickey, definitely candidates to win MVP. A lot of people thought that Hickey should have won MVP last season, and they're not that wrong. He legitimately won games for his team and turned ties into wins, especially that one game against the Bombers with that one save, 5 seconds left in the game. Unbelievable. Jesse Tremeny, not exactly sure if he's going to win MVP, but he is still the absolutely hardest working player in the entire league. And maybe it's close. Maybe it's not close. I'm not sure. There is certainly only one Jesse. Bob Yarkis, could he break out? He didn't have the season he wanted last year, but he is a bona fide goal scorer. Caleb Brownlow, all the tools. Fast, young, agile, good shot, extremely dogged competitor, smart. Definitely could win MVP. And then, you know what, why not? Dark horse Kevin Helinski seems to win tournaments all the time, seems to be in front creating impossible goals, and is always near the top in points. So why not? Lots of MVP candidates. Rookie of the Year candidates. These are all of the players that are eligible. It doesn't seem like a huge list, but if you're to look at previous CSHL seasons, we don't really have a lot of players coming up from the B League. Of course, Cole Williams, this is his first season. John Peters as well. Noah Shear as well. But from there, Nick Lavella, Jacob Janiga, Ryan Kincaid, technically John Lavella, Cole Hesslin, and Nick Fair from the Rec League this past summer are all more or less promotions coming up from the B or not A-League into A-League. And good for them. Very, very excited to see how everyone does. And then, of course, newcomers. Tanner Canego and Ryan Thomas. Newcomers to CSHL. We'll see how they do as well. Final standings predictions. We'll have those come later. We're not exactly ready to make those predictions before we go through each team. So without further ado, first up in alphabetical order, JJ's Bombers. Well, Bombers, if you will. Cole Williams in the first round, and then paired with Jesse Tremeny. That's going to be very fun. Nick Severance coming back to the Bombers. Very, very successful in his first season. He was whipping beautiful passes all over the court. Had a couple nice goals himself. Very fast and athletic. Jerry Janiga and Tommy Knox on the JJ's Bombers team, which is somewhat surreal because both of them I know were very close to the late, great JJ D'Amato. I know they will do his name proud. Cole Hesslin, also from Mooresville. He is Mike Campbell's neighbor, if I am correct. So I expect that we'll see them playing on the same line, maybe. David Gonsalves, not playing goalie. He did not make the sign-up in time, but I mean, gosh, who did? It feels like the goalie sign-ups were completed within the first day, and then everybody was just, left to the dogs. Arbitrary rankings. This is the fastest team on paper overall with the rankings there. Should be a very hard-working team. Not a historically successful team, unfortunately. Finishing fourth, or rather last, multiple times. Their second season, in which they had Jesse in winter 23. They did win a playoff game, but their second playoff win ever came last year in winter 24. And to be honest, they actually did have the whole package. Sam Wood, Josh Greco, Caleb Brownlow, Nick Severance. James Hochner had a basically MVP season from maybe a year or two ago, but unfortunately, Cale Bowman and Tim Hickey exist now, so Hodge was passed over for the most valuable goalie. Projected lineups, Cole Williams on the top line for sure. Jesse Tremeny will be playing with him in a more defensive position. Nick Severance, Tommy Knox on the back end. Sebs will be jumping up into the play, and Tommy Knox, the no-nonsense, stay-at-home defenseman, will be shutting down as much as he can. Or maybe Jerry Janiga's on that line, but on the second line, you might see neighbors Campbell and Heslin together. Campbell will be in his office behind the net, and Heslin playing defense. And then David Gonzalez, with all his vision and hockey IQ, will be manning the back line with either Janiga or Knox. Half the team can play goalie, by the way, so if Hodge can't make it for whatever interesting reason, Gonzalez can jump in net, so can Cole Heslin. Tommy Knox has a history of playing in net in CSHL games. Jesse played in net back in the day, and Jerry Janiga even did one, if not two, pickups in goal over the last year, and he was very boisterous about his time in the crease. So, yeah, very, very goalie-heavy team. Questions for the Bombers. Is there enough scoring? Cole Williams clearly capable of scoring goals. Tommy Knox, Jerry Janiga, great shots from the point, and Mike Campbell is somewhat of a bona fide goal scorer. But can they get Campbell the ball? Can Janiga and Knox have enough space to take their shots? And can Jesse Tremeny create or score as many goals as a second round pick might? Not exactly sure, but maybe this team can win every game 1-0. Can Sevs break out? Is it time for Nick Severance and all of his skill to take his career by the reins and make the next step and try to put himself in that top 15, top 20 CSHL player conversation? Because at this point, he third round pick is, I think, pretty fair for him. And if you told him that 2 years ago, he probably would have blown his mind. Can Hotch steal most valuable goalie from Tim Hickey and Cale Bowman? That's going to be a big point of conversation. Chris Naparala, Patrick Martin, probably viewed as the quote-unquote worst two of the 6 goalies, and that's an insane choice to me. There was a time in CSHL where we were lucky to have goalies, and now if those two are considered the worst, then hell yeah, I want to be a goalie. Anyways, Hotch, fantastic goalie, always competitive, always driven, always wants more. If he did win most valuable goalie against Bowman and Hickey, he'd probably want to do it against Bowman, Hickey, and Mitch Console. Wouldn't be good enough for him. Extremely competitive. Good luck to you, Hotch. On to his son's team. Jeremy Hotchner's Gilead Gladiators picks Alex Lindvall, former Mullet Men teammate, in the first round. Then goes first, make sure he gets the goalie. From experience, love you, Cale Bowman, but I made a mistake drafting you 3rd overall. Taking a goalie in the first round is pretty risky, and Refrigerators did okay that season, but not great. Could have done better. And there was a certain player that was available, and let's just say the Refrigerators captain knew it at the time. Knew what he was picking, he was passing up on. Tell you what, though, he also knew what he was picking when he picked Cale Bowman. Cale Bowman's the best goalie in this fucking league. Cale Bowman is a titan, and he is extremely competitive, and Timmy Hickey's been kind of taking CSHL by storm, and we're going to have a fantastic goalie duel all season long. Can't wait to watch Cale and Hickey's duels and see how well they do in terms of goals against and all that stuff. But with that, Jeremy and Alex will have to carry the weight more or less with goal scoring, unless they pick Chris Ward and Quentin Heinley, who have lots of goal scoring touch themselves. Comes back and picks tank Ryan Kincaid, who will put in, no doubt, many minutes of dogged work. Mike Steckler, very calm presence on the blue line with lots of skill and veteran acumen. Very good pick there. Kendall Kerr, up-and-coming player with lots of athletic ability and great drive and an infectious personality to be around. And then the last round, probably the best pick in the entire draft for me, Walt Ewald. Takes care of his body, also super competitive, smart, wants to win every single game. To get him in the 8th round, I think, is an absolutely lovely pick. So, hard to tell what this Gilead Gladiators team is going to be, but I think projected lineups would make sense. Jeremy would play with Q, and Alex Lindvall will be on the back. He'll jump up a little bit, but he'll mostly stay at home. Mike Steckler definitely will stay at home and just spray around passes and, get in a position on a point and rip a clapper or two. Line 2, Ryan Kincaid, Chris Wall, classic grinder scorer combo. Should be pretty darn successful if they are out against the right people. Can see Chris Ward scoring 5 goals or so this season out of 7 games. Kendall Kerr, just kind of finding a place for him on the back end with Walt Ewald. Maybe Ryan can play defense and Kendall plays Chris. Not exactly sure, but I think we can see Walt playing back there too. It's hard to tell with the last 4 players there what's going to happen with this Gladiators team. Questions for the Gladiators. Can Cale outduel Timmy? Did just allude to Hotch possibly putting himself in the MVG conversation, but I think it's pretty much going to be between Cale Bowman and Tim Hickey. No idea. Both these goalies are exceptionally talented for different reasons, and we've seen Cale and Timmy make incredible saves to steal games, and we'll see how well they do. And then my second question is, it's kind of hard to get a read on this team, on the Gilead Gladiators team, because a lot of teams you see across all professional sports have a superstar. Now, of course, to actually win the whole thing, you need a team. You need depth. You need a lot of different things. But the most important thing is you need a team. You need a whole lot of moving parts making a team good. This sounds like some John Madden, very basic analysis, but it's true. There's no real superstar here. There could be. It might be Jeremy Hotchner. But at the same time, there's also no real weakness. So this could be a lame team where no one really shines and inspires, and the team just kind of drags. Or everyone could contribute at a higher level overall than any other team and the sum of their parts on average. It's hard to tell. No history with this team, obviously, with Jeremy being a captain, but he's got some great pieces around him with Walt and Mike Steckler, that is, to help with the leadership. He's got Q when he shows up and Chris to help with goal scoring, and of course he's got probably the best goalie in the league. So yes, very excited to see what the Gilead Gladiators do, or the Gladiators of Gilead, if you will, something like that. Anyways, moving on, Huntersville Hooligans picking Andrew Cernas in the 1st round. Pretty good pick. Kevin Holinsky, Connor Malmstrom, Andy Zakowicz. Ryan Prusha is a very nice pick. He can play pretty much anywhere. Pete Becht in the 6th round is pretty insane for how good he is, but the caveat here is Pete is moving. And he, like Cernas, will probably not be around next season. I'm very sad to see you go, Pete. He is the only one who has played in every CSHL league all the way back to Fall 21, with the exception of Kevin Holinsky, Caleb Brownlow, and James Hotchner. Pete, we're very much going to miss you. So with the lack of a guarantee of him making the playoffs, a lot of captains passed on him. Forbes said 6th round is definitely enough. I'd like to shore up my blue line even more with one of the best shutdown defensemen in the league. Tanner Kanego, newcomer, absolutely nothing really is known about him. And then a line stealer, James Forbes, took the line from Mike Campbell when he said, "Give me my goalie," and he meant P-Mart. Prior seasons for the Hooligans are very wishy-washy. So that first season, Fall 22, as you might recall if you were around then, they only had 4 players on the final day. And they had to win 3 games to win the championship. And they got all the way to the finals and were tied with a minute left. But ended up losing anyways. But still, pretty darn good showing for Kevin Holinsky's first season. The season after that, didn't do so good. They finished 4th. And then finished 4th in the playoffs. But then James Forbes inherits the team, and apparently fall is their season. And they do pretty darn good in the regular season and go all the way and win the championship. It's good for them. And then the next season, almost dead last. They finished last out of 5. Rapids finished 4th, and they beat the Rapids in the playoffs in overtime. I'm sorry, in the wild card game in overtime. But then didn't win a playoff game after that, so unlucky for them. So I guess that's good news. Huntersville Hooligans on the track to at least reach the finals in fall 22 here. And their projected lines might look like this: Kevin Helinski up front playing with Connor Malmstrom. A little bit different for Connor than playing with Zach McKenna. There might be something to be said that the reason Connor got so many points is because he was playing with Zach McKenna. But I certainly posit you the reason Zach McKenna got so many points is because he was playing with Connor Malmstrom. The way that Connor sets players up, he works super hard, he's extremely fast and smart, benefited Zach immensely. And I think a little bit of that was lost in the past winter 24 season. In any case, Connor is a hell of a player, and him and Helinski should create a lot of goals. James Forbes, Andrew Cernas probably on the back end. Line 2, you could see Ryan Prussia with Tanner Canego, who sounds like a pretty good player from what little we know. Andy Zakos will be on the back end, and Pete Becht could easily play on that first line as well. So maybe that's what could happen. Excite factor thing I'd like to point out is the PMart Awakening. He's been, I think he said he dropped like 25 pounds over the last year or something like that. He looks like Hotch looked like 2 years ago. He is super confident and cool, and actually he does. I will say this: he does slide around more, like an ice hockey goalie would. So yeah, he's going to have probably some pretty good seasons in the coming years. Very much looking forward to watching PMart play in this league, especially with how the other goalies are very talented too. Questions for the Huntersville Hooligans: can we have Cernas at center, please? Apparently that's where he plays, at forward or whatever. He doesn't actually play defense. I just, especially with this as his last season, I just want to see him score a bunch of goals. I want to see him whip ass. I want to see him be the top 5, top 3 player that I know that he is. And then, of course, the big question, as alluded to earlier: can Pete Becht make the playoffs? Will he be available? Will he buy a house on week 7 or whatever the last week is, and then fly in for the playoffs? Who knows? That would be the big question for me for the Hooligans. They probably won't have that many attendance issues as they did, or this year as they did the previous winter 24 year, but getting value out of that 6th round pick would be pretty incredible, especially considering it's Pete Becht. Very excited to see. On to the Mighty Mullet Men. Bobby Arcus, Caleb Brownlow on the turn at the end of the 1st round. Pretty interesting duo there. Pure goal scorer, pure competitor. They go back to Tim Hickey, fantastic value, late 3rd round on the turn. They pick up Noah Shear, and then they drafted who are natural forwards but can play defense. John Lavella can definitely play back, and we're not exactly sure about Ryan Thomas, but it sounds like he's very experienced with hockey, so he can play anywhere as well. Jack himself would say he plays defense. As far as the previous Mullet Men seasons, they have played 2. As you recall, Jack Ingles was with Fridge Raiders in fall 22 and winter 23. And not only that, that means that Jack Ingles has been in the final the last 5 years. Sorry, 4 years. Winter 22 he was not, but fall 21 he was. He won the fall 21 championship. Semifinals in fall 22 with the Snakes, or winter 22 with the Snakes. Fall 22 he won it. Winter 23 lost in the finals. And then fall 23 and winter 24 exactly the same. Finished 1st in the league and made it to the finals, but did not get the job done as captain. Super unfortunate to see, but impressive nonetheless, considering that last season, winter 24 is a straight draft instead of a snake draft. So very difficult to build a competitive team, especially when you don't have that many players to choose from. You're basically redrafting the entire league. Anyways, projected lineups probably look like Bobby playing with Noah. They already have a little bit of chemistry just from knowing each other in pickup. Caleb Brownlow, Jack Ingles as a defensive pair. Good luck, everybody else. Line 2, the Burns brothers. Sean Burns going to be putting on a lot of forechecking pressure. This guy is insanely fast and athletic and endurant. And then Patrick Burns just snipes. He just picks corners. It's incredible how often he can score from tight angles. He can score from where there's only a ball-shaped hole. Going to be fun to watch that duo play together. Ryan Thomas, the newcomer, maybe with John Lavella on the blue line for line 2. Questions for the Mullet Men. Can the Burns brothers carry the second line? Because you might think, especially compared to the other teams, that maybe there's a bit of a skill drop-off with the Burns brothers. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit the mic there. Lost my train of thought. I did just hype him up a little bit, but Sean's a little bit newer to hockey, and Patrick's not clumsy, but a little bit different than some of the other teams in terms of skill. So can they, when they're out there giving the first line a rest, can they provide the depth necessary to wear down teams and allow the first line to be set up properly with like a tired opponent or whatever, so that the first line can go to town? Or can they chip in some goals while the first line is recovering? That should be important, I think. And then, of course, the same question I asked were for the Gladiators of Gilead, just in the opposite order. Can Hickey outduel Cale? Dunno, just excited to see. The other thing, too, is really interesting and funny about the Mullet Men is they've gone from a very height-rich team to a height-challenged team. Before, especially last season, they had, Kevin Alinsky, Jeremy Hotchner, Kendall Kerr, and Alex Lindvall, all players that are like 6'3" on average. And now I don't think they have a single player who's over 6 feet. Noah's like 5'11". Bobby's close. Maybe he's like 5'10". I will 100% say in front of everybody in the world, Caleb is not 5'9". Timmy might not be 6 feet. John Lavelle is a little close. Ryan might be 6 foot. In any case, see if that'll work for Jack Ingles. I think Jack's 5'11". He maintains if he was 2 inches taller, he'd be in the NFL. Well, thank God for that. We got to enjoy watching you play hockey instead, Jack. No disrespect. Please don't wrestle me. Anyways, Riverbend Rapids. Great draft, as I alluded to earlier. Picking up Zach McKenna with the second overall pick is a no-brainer, but getting Ethan Pinto and Jaden Steckler on the abbreviated turn, as you might call it, is a great couple of selections. Ratings-wise, it looks like a pretty pedestrian team, but it's just, balanced to me. This is a new team for Danny McMahon. He played on the Wieners the last 2 seasons. To me, this is also the best team on paper, and very excited to see what they do. Projected lineups: Ethan Pinto playing up front with Jaden Steckler playing in maybe a defensive position. Zach McKenna's been touted as a defenseman, but he's just a complete player. He can play wherever he wants, so I'm not exactly sure why we put him into that role. And if anything, he's offensively minded. He's always looking to shoot or pass to someone who can pass back to him so he can shoot. He's looking to create goals. He's definitely not defensively minded. But Captain Chris Cookingham is, and I can see him, even though he loves playing offense, sitting comfortably back on the blue line, or at least in a defensive position. And the thing about all 4 of these players is they can play anywhere. Ethan maybe would be more preferable to playing forward than defense, but Jaden is turning to a very, very nice defensively minded player who knows how to attack. And it's just going to be a very malleable line 1 if these 4 players play together. On the second line, for me, it would make sense to have Nick Lavella playing with Tom Carrero, keeping the duo together. Superstar and captain that won the B-League last season. And then shutting down everybody on the blue line would be Bill Evans and Nick Fair. Bill Evans still low-key one of the best shutdown defensemen in the CSHL, and might become that with the departure of Pete Becht, but that remains yet to be seen. Questions for the Riverbend Rapids. There's a little bit of a speed drop-off after Nick Lavella, and that's mostly because Ethan's super fast, Zach is insanely fast, Chris is super fast and has lots of endurance, and Jaden is super fast, Nick is incredibly agile. So anybody naturally is going to be, that is compared to them speed-wise, is going to appear slow, but Tom has enjoyed the last couple seasons in B. Is he going to be able to adjust to A with his age? Same with Bill Evans, who's a bit younger. His style of play is not fast, but rather confident. Nick Fair, this is going to be his first foray into playing with the high caliber, high quality of talent in A-League. Will he be able to react in time in A-League? In that light somewhat, can Tom Carrero get clean shots on net with all of the speed? There's going to be a little bit more space 4-on-4 versus 5-on-5 the previous couple seasons that he endured in B. And it seemed that he created a lot of space for himself in those seasons. And anytime he gets shots off, it's dangerous. So that will be one of the most important things for the Rapids to accomplish, is getting Tom Carrero in space and just letting him shoot. Just letting him shoot. If Zach McKenna, Jaden Steckler, and Ethan Pinto aren't creating enough offensively somehow, then you have Tom Carrero to contend with. This is going to be a really dangerous team. Similar to the Seb's question earlier, can Jaden break out? Is Jaden already breaking out? I know he likes to say he is him, but can he be? And I think that reference it's not really a reference. It's like it's a mode of speaking. It's probably lost on our slightly older audience. But in any case, Jaden definitely has all the tools to take a team by the scruff of the neck. And in some ways he did with the Riverbend Rapids in winter 24. I believe it was through 5 games or so, 5 or 6 games. He had 5 goals. So can he repeat that level of scoring? It was mostly because nobody else was doing the scoring, but at the same time, those goals probably would have happened anyways. He's a fantastic player, and he's growing into being an even better one. So we'll see. Last of the A-League teams, the Waymer Wieners. Wieners have Wood in round 1. They go with John Peters from the Charlotte Rise, I believe, in NBHL. And then drafted a Vibes team. Benny Thompson, super fun to be around, and actually a two-way player, which is not a double entendre, but it certainly can be. Jeff Kennedy, the all-time veteran now, I would say. Jacob Janiga, much younger than him, going to be learning from Kennedy, Stock, and Wood, and maybe a little bit of Bateman as well. Very, very excited for Jacob and the experience he's about to get. Nick Petrini working super hard with Mark Stock, just on different ends of the rink. And then Buffalo native Chris Naparala, last overall pick, Mr. Irrelevant. Great place to pick Nappy. Fantastic place, honestly. Wiener's previous seasons, a lot of success, but also a little wishy-washy. First season had a star-studded cast, but they lost in the semifinals 6-2 to that crazy Hooligans, or 6-3, whatever it was. That magical Hooligans run where J.Y. Forbes, Helinski, and Jeremy Hotchner just absolutely went off. But then it became Bobby Arcus, who was doing double duty while the CDI were trying to do somewhat of the same thing the same day. They ended up losing in the semifinals, but then finished first in the league and then won the championship in winter 23. Didn't follow that up very well, and finished dead last, 5th overall, and lost the wild card game. Then repeated some of that the next season, but pulled off the semi-impossible one. No, they didn't have to do a wild card. Yeah, they did. Fucking, it says right there, 4th out of 5. Won the wild card game. Can't remember if they won a playoff game. No, they didn't. They lost, and then they had to win 3 games, and they did to become champions. So first 2-time A-League champions ever. Congratulations, Waymer Wieners. They are the defending champs. Their projected lineups might look something like this. Kennedy are in and around the net doing his crazy tricks. Jim Bateman off to the side waiting for a big one-timer to come from John Peters or Sam Wood or Jeff Kennedy, who would be playing super far away from Jim Bateman, I would think. Sam Wood can play pretty much anywhere he wants. He is seated in some sort of defensive position, but he can attack from anywhere at any time, play anywhere in any way that he wishes. On line 2, the hardworking duo of Nick Petrini and Jacob Janiga should be very fun to watch. Jacob Janiga made 5-on-5 look like 4-on-4 based on how he ran. He was joy to watch, and he should have a great time in A-League. At least learning. It'll be a little bit different with the skill level, but he's ready. Mark Stock and Benny Thompson on the defensive line for line 2. Questions for the Wieners. It's not just that they might have a weaker team on paper. Sam Wood is missing 3 of the first 4 weekends. So can they, and this is kind of the same question, both of these, can they survive those first 4 weeks without Sam Wood, for 3 of the first 4 weeks without Sam Wood? And then 2, can they pull off the wild card upset again? We're just gonna assume that the other teams are gonna maybe not tee off on the Wieners, but they might be stronger overall. Can they pull off the wild card surprise again? I would say anything is possible, especially considering that let's see, Petrini and Bateman were there. I guess that's it. Yeah, anyway. to go back to the draft board and reveal the predicted standings. Number 6, just kind of alluded to it. Wieners thinking will finish in 6th place. And again, this, or not again, I forgot to clarify. This is not the final positions who we think are going to finish at the end of the playoffs. This is just the regular season standings, and whatever happens in the playoffs is totally different. I don't even know the playoffs format. I assume it's 2 wild card games, and then you do the best of the round robin or whatever. We'll see what happens. Anyway, 5th overall. It's actually going to be the Bombers, I think. Maybe not enough scoring. Going to be a very nice defensive team, smart team. Cole Williams should contribute a lot, but not exactly sure it's enough, and someone's got to go 5th. 4th overall, Gladiators of Gilead. Gilead. I'm saying it kind of weird. New season, going to be difficult to adjust. Mullet Men did it quite well, so maybe the Gladiators will too, but not exactly sure they have the right star power on their roster. And again, someone's got to go 4th, so totally guessing here, more or less. 3rd, love their roster. Riverbend Rapids might come up short because of the other 2 teams that are in the standings above them here. That would be either the Mullet Men or Huntersville Hooligans, and I'll just reveal both of them at the same time because I think finishing 1st overall in the league is going to be the Huntersville Hooligans, because clearly they have a thing for fall seasons, and the Mullet Men got to stop finishing 1st at some point, right? So there you go. There's your predicted final standings and a wrap of the A-League draft, plus a little preview of what might come. We will see you in 1 week.